Hello everyone. This is lecture 10 for economic issues in public administration. In the previous lecture, we learned transaction cost and contracting out. Specifically, we studied service characteristics which affect transaction cost, asset specificity, and service manageability. The theory of transaction cost tells us contracting out cannot be efficient with high asset specificity and low service manageability. In this lecture, we'll study privatization and deregulation. Actually, contract out can be seen as a form of privatization. However, in contracting out, a government gives contractors a portable authority of public service implementation. On the other hand, in other forms of privatization, government gives private firms most authorities to design, implement, and evaluate public services. So we can see privatization is more radical solution for government failure than contracting out. By this lecture 10, we covered several government failure theories which advocate different solutions. So before going to the last lecture for government failure theories, which assume bureaucrats are self-interested, let me review some solutions from these theories. In lecture 8, we learned principal-agent model, which suggests stronger monitoring from principal to agents. And in the previous lecture, we learned contracting out. This is a partial form of privatization. A government gives contractors a partial authority to implement public services. Finally, we reached the most radical solution for government failures. Privatization and deregulation are attempts to remove government authority from service delivery, believing that the market force can bring efficiency even for public services. In lecture 3, we learn supply and demand theory, which justifies Adam Smith's position, invisible hand, which suggests that market force can solve scarcity. So now we are going back to such fundamental theory of neoclassical economics. Here I will explain that privatization addresses different issues from contracting out. Contracting out is an attempt to replace public workers with private workers in implementing service delivery. On the other hand, privatization is a large size of reform which changes managemental body from public to private, so it addresses organizational level issues rather than individual level. So it expects to solve expanded budget of bureaucracies in terms of cost efficiency. It also changes monopoly form of management by introducing competition in terms of allocative efficiency. So in the previous lectures, we've covered two forms of efficiency, allocative efficiency and cost efficiency. So this lecture also uses them. To remember these, allocative efficiency means that more people's preferences are satisfied through resource allocation. Here we'll use technical efficiency as cost efficiency. So in technical efficiency, the same level of input leads to increase of output through technical improvement. It can also mean that technical improvement leads to decrease of input in producing the same level of output. Then let's see why budget maximization and monopoly are inefficient based on these two concepts. First, budget maximization will prevent allocative efficiency because budget will be made by self-interested bureaucrats. Budget maximization also prevents technical efficiency because Bureaucrats are interested in increasing the size of budget to maximize their utility. They are not motivated to reduce the cost of their program or bureaus. Next, monopoly prevents both allocative and technical efficiency. As we learn in market failure theory, monopoly suppliers tend to produce less goods at higher price to maximize their profits. Due to the controlled high price, only rich people might get these goods, so allocative efficiency cannot be achieved in monopoly. Also, without competitors, monopoly suppliers can control the price, so they don't need to care about technical improvement. So in the late 80s and 90s, privatization was considered as a main solution for inefficiency of budget maximization and monopoly. However, there are many and various types of privatization. Becker and Yarrow, the course reading, classifies privatization into three types. First, privatization of competitive firms. This means that the government monopoly power of providing service is transferred to competitive market. So there should be many possible suppliers which can provide that service. Second, privatization of monopolies. This means that the government monopoly power is transferred to one private firm, or it just means that a public organization which provides a service is reformed as a private company. Third, contracting out. As I explained in the previous slides, this is a partial privatization. It just changes service deliverer from public to private. These three categorizations are not perfect. However, the course reading tries to identify different policy of privatization in different countries. Actually, in the late 80s and 90s, privatization was very popular in many countries as a part of their new public management reform. According to the course reading, we can see it's a strong trend of privatization of competitive firms in France. Actually, they nationalized the banks before, but it transfers that monopoly power to competitive market. In management reform of Britain, we can see strong trend for privatization of natural monopolies. Specifically, public organizations which provided telecommunication, gas, and other utilities were reformed as private companies. As we discussed in the previous lecture, we can see growing trend of contracting out in the US government. On the other hand, it has less privatization of competitive firms or national monopolies. I personally believe it's because US has less national enterprises than France and Britain. So this is the end of this video. In the next video, we'll analyze three types of privatization from allocative efficiency and technical efficiency.